And now, the John Gentle Show on WCCP.
Hello, Passaic. It's 7 a.m., and you're listening to WCCP, the sound of the City College of Passaic, broadcasting here on FM 87.9. You're listening to the longest and most respected radio show on this channel, the John Gentle Show. How's everybody doing? I hope you've got a cup of coffee and you're ready to just hear some talk, because that's what we do here on the John Gentle Show. Today, I have, get this, a twofer, a former student and a current professor here. I've been kind of making myself at home here on campus now that I'm kind of back in the fold, and I was back at the old Kuklinski sort of faculty lounge, and I saw a familiar face. I started striking up a conversation, and it turns out that not only is he a current professor, but I helped him become that by showing him how it's done. So we got that coming up. I'm also joined by my assistant, Glennis.
I'm the producer.
Sorry, I'm joined by my producer, Glennis.
Eva.
Sorry?
I'm Eva.
My mistake. How is your weekend going? You have any fun Sunday plans?
I was going to go to
Can't have the dead air on the show. Sort of getting more comfortable, on the campus here. It's just nice to be back home, really. And they've made some incredible improvements to William Bonin Library and Media Center. I love this place because the Media Center always evolves, and they've added some new things, including a very fetching librarian. So that's pretty cool. So I struck her up in conversation, and she gave me a few announcements to make for the library. And again, this is, I don't know,
Eva.
I don't know if you take advantage of the library. Obviously, one of the best collections of books in Passaic County. Cafe DM is now open as an additional study space during the library construction project that currently has the second floor of the library closed. Cafe DM has comfortable, air-conditioned spaces with excellent Wi-Fi. And this is actually a little tip for anybody that's listening. There's no food service in the library. They used to have muffins, but then the E. coli happened. But there is a vending machine in the back hallway that doesn't really get touched a lot. Not a lot of people know about it, except for me. I am very familiar with this stairwell. I'll leave it at that.
Why are you so familiar with it?
Let's just say I've had some fun in that hallway. Bonin Library Archives is thrilled to receive a donation from Players, the student-run on-campus theater organization. Yoga, are you in the theater program at all? You seem very theatrical.
Me?
Well, this collection of historic materials from Players is a treasure trove of scrapbooks, photographs, VHS records of performances. I don't know. Have you ever used the screening room in there?
Me, Eva. Have I ever used the screening room?
I wonder if they'll have the 2004 edition of Salome that they put on. I really love the performance by Christine Florio in the titular role. Do you know Christine Florio by any chance?
In 2004, I was 3.
No, no. Yeah, she did graduate in '05, and then she moved to Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Then she moved to Astoria, Queens. She was in a bunch of off-Broadway performances. She did Doris to Darlene, A Cautionary Valentine, then Piaf, Love Conquers All, and then The Accomplices. And then I think she quit acting, which is very sad because she had really an incredible body of work.
Sounds like you had a bit of a crush on her, John.
Do you have any crushes on campus? Either students or teachers or?
I prefer to keep business and pleasure separate.
Stay tuned after the program. There will be a replay of the basketball game from last Saturday. That'll be exciting. I'd like to think they'd maybe want to piggyback off this with a little high class programming than a replay of a bunch of kids throwing around basketball.
You must have known you were wrong when your fingers were dipped inside me, searching for honey that would not come for you.
Really beautiful.
Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur.
You're familiar?
No, actually, I would love to hear more of it.
He placed his hands on my mind before reaching for my waist, my hips, or my lips. He didn't call me beautiful first. He called me exquisite. The very thought of you has my legs spread apart like an easel with a canvas begging for art. I am hopelessly a lover and a dreamer, and that will be the death of me. There's this nice image here.
It's just such beautiful language. Do you have an interest in poetry? I didn't. I think this would have come up by now, Abigail.
I prefer
Avril.
things more concrete, kind of theory and stuff like that.
I mean, there's nothing more concrete than the written word. I mean, think about Ulysses. It's lasted for generations and generations.
I think Ulysses actually was like an oral tradition.
Kissed me, held my shoulders down like the handlebars of the first bicycle he ever rode.
Isn't that great?
So gorgeous, I could cry.
You must have known you were wrong when your fingers were dipped inside me, searching for honey that would not come for you.
All right. We're going to take a break, and then we come back with our very special guest, a former student who is now a teacher. Parkway Pleasures and Turnpike Terrors, a collection of poems about the Garden State, is now available at the library's periodical section. We're back on the John Gentle Show, and I've got a very special guest right now, a former, and get this, a former student of Moss, is now teaching here at the City College of Passaic. I was so excited to run into you, and I insisted that you come onto my show so that I can see what kind of what kind of statue I helped shape from just the wet clay of youth. So what's your name again?
Hello, John. My name is Brusher Sims.
Brusher Sims. I never forget a name.
Right. Took your intro to creative writing class some years ago. I didn't
Do you remember what year?
I couldn't forget. It was 2012.
2012. Obama.
That's right, John. I didn't expect to see you again, and yet here we are.
Here we are. It's very fun how life just kind of gives you presents like that. I didn't think I'd necessarily be back here either, but I'm so happy I am, and I'm so happy to see just one of my wards now thriving as a professor, just like me.
Just like you used to be. I was curious, actually, if other people at the school knew that you were on campus.
Yeah, I've talked to Arthur Palace about it.
All right. Well, yes, like I said, it sure is something seeing you. I am a professor here now, and upon running into you, I did, I suppose, commit to taking part in this recording. So here I am.
We're in Kuklinski Hall. I'm making myself a coffee, and I'm like, this is a young whippersnapper professor. Maybe professor training or something. But no, it's then you're like, yeah, I know you, and I thought you knew me from my poetry.
No, well, in a way, in that we were required, of course, to read your work in the class and watch you perform,
Yeah.
listen to you.
A lot of the listeners here know me as this, kind of rollicking, laid back DJ. But you actually got to see me. I think my greatest strength, which was, both artist and teacher.
That's your greatest strength, is being both an artist and a teacher.
Yeah. At the same time, because as you're learning, teaching is an art.
Sure. There's something to that, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
There's something to teaching as an art form. And again, you think that that's your greatest strength.
I think that's my greatest. Well, I think my writing is my greatest strength, but I would showcase my writing in the class. And teaching is such an art that it's almost less about the content and more about kind of your performance, your creativity that goes into it. Because when they leave, they might not retain all the information about commas and periods, but if you put a smile on their face, that could last a lifetime, and clearly it has with you.
Right. I don't have a great memory, perhaps, but I don't recall a lot of smiles in that class. It was rather...
I smile all the time.
That's true. I'll give you credit there. You smile. I don't know if I've ever seen it quite drop, the corners of your mouth in the slightest upturn.
Because I'm so happy in teaching. You know how it is now.
I do. Yes, I'm very happy. I feel fortunate to have gotten a professorship this young. I'm grateful for that all the time, and happy to be on campus. It's a lovely school. And again, I did not think that you would be returning to campus. I thought that I don't know if I'm speaking about ongoing litigation, but I thought that was sort of a settled matter, that you wouldn't.
Well, that's I should be clear. I'm not teaching.
Right.
I of course took over Java Jazz, the long running radio show, because what's his name passed away, and that was his dying wish, was that I would kind of take over this role. So in a sense, I'm grandfathered into this position. It's a different position than the last one, which there was, I don't want to get into it, but some drama, let's just say. And I'm not talking about the drama that the Players group is putting on with their 9 to 5 production this year. But yeah, we don't need to get into that stuff.
7 a.m., waking up in the kitchen.
I'm sorry?
Pour myself a cup of ambition. 9 to 5. The musical.
Oh, I thought you were breaking into poetry. I was like, this guy was really taking after me.
No, I just thought we could find some common ground there.
No,
You brought it up.
I've never seen.
Right. And that was his dying wish, was for you to take over.
Yeah.
Was
He's a
that
sweet guy?
Recorded, or you had that on verbal authority, or
Well, there was a napkin situation.
a napkin situation?
Yeah. I went and visited him up by Lake George, and the wine was flowing. I was like, I'd love to get this in writing, because he's getting up there, and sometimes you just gotta take a look at the sad reality of things. And I didn't want there to not be a jazz program on the radio station.
Of course.
Yeah.
We need it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that you were the right person for the job.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, he passed away.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a sore subject. How did he die?
It is a sore subject. You're a jazz head?
Yep. Nothing so serious, but I think of jazz, maybe this is something we can agree on, as sort of the poetry of music.
Right. Yeah.
If it were divvied up that way, if different
I think
musical...
poetry is music without song.
Okay.
Did you ever see that movie Drumline, about the hard-nosed jazz teacher
Missed it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I forget his name. I don't follow the younger actors, but
Sure.
he's this jazz teacher, and he's saying you got to get better at jazz. One of the few pictures I've seen after 9/11, and this kid, he's just taking this verbal abuse, but it's making him better, which I think is a nice thing, because some people see a character flaw in someone's everyday life, but when applied to teaching, it actually helps the student more.
To verbally sort of abuse them, and
This guy, he seems like a real see you next Tuesday in the classroom, but this kid needed the guidance and to be pushed. And I hope I did that for you.
well, I was going to say there are a lot of rings of similarity to what I would characterize as your teaching
Rings
style.
of similarity. You are my student.
So you're allowed on campus because you're the host of the
The
jazz
Channel
show.
Yeah.
It's this.
It's a more of a talk show, sort of like I'm like a Regis for the campus.
Sure.
Instead of modern pop culture.
Mm-hmm. Instead, you're taking the jazz of the written word, poetry.
Thank you. Yes, I've never really thought of it that way, but that makes a lot of sense, and I'll be using it conversationally.
Okay, I make no objection there.
Yeah.
But you're not teaching anymore, to clarify.
I know.
That's a settled. Oh, just a question. I wasn't accusing or.
Accusations get thrown around all the time,
Sure.
but I'm not teaching unless you consider, my students that are waking up and having their morning coffee.
Cup of ambition. From 9 to 5.
Continue.
7 a.m. Waking up in the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition.
Oh, it's from the thing, yeah. Of 9 to 5, yes. 9 to 5 is actually the work hours.
Right.
Also.
Yeah, and 7 a.m. is sort of when most people wake up, and it's also when you asked me to meet you here.
Yeah. I would say 5 a.m. is when most people wake up.
Really?
Yeah.
What makes you think that?
That's when I wake up.
That's when you wake up.
Yeah.
I see.
Unless I, find myself out painting the town red, then I'll maybe wake up at 6 a.m.
Sure. So you've had a long night before.
Yeah.
I don't really like to carouse in that way.
Yeah. Now my Saturdays are mainly show prep.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, I'm here with, what's your name again?
Brusher Sims.
Never forget a name.
Right.
So what do you teach here?
Thank you for asking, John. I am a professor at CCP. I teach an online poetry class. It's my area of expertise.
Wow. So this is people can zoom in to the poetry class, and wow, that's so neat.
That's and they can. That's true, but that's not what I mean by that. I mean poetry that is written or viewed, experienced online.
Okay, rephrase.
Oh, well, I would say that it used to be the case that poetry would be written in books or, in some people's cases, in sort of dirty leaflets that have printer kind of like bleed in the margins, even as they charge an exorbitant rate for their students to purchase and read them.
Because I actually gave out my booklet,
Oh.
which I thought was published pretty professionally by the fine folks at Kinko's.
At Kinko's.
Yeah.
And you see how that could be interpreted as that they're not publishing it or perhaps not doing as fine of a job.
They did a very fine job because I spent the whole day there checking each one, and I would say, this doesn't live up to the gentle quality. I'm not paying for this.
Okay. You could avoid all of those problems because now a lot of very interesting work is being written and published online. So you could just turn on a computer and read a poem that way.
This is the thing where you put the helmet on, and then you're kind of opening a digital book.
I see what you're thinking of. You're maybe thinking of either a motorcycle or maybe an augmented reality or virtual reality
I'm
setup.
not thinking of a motorcycle. That would be stupid. The second thing you mentioned.
Augmented reality or virtual reality, sure. There's a lot of interesting work being constructed that way, where in the way that there used to be happenings in the 60s, spontaneous beat poetry.
Yeah.
They've taken that into the modern age now.
Okay.
No longer kind of a bunch of smelly people meeting in a park or a basement. A lot of that can now be done in the world of Roblox, let's say. A lot of aspiring poets logging in and talking to each other with a voice modulator, or in the guise of Naruto or other fictional characters that they connect with, and communicating, writing, performing to each other that way.
Stop. Rephrase.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. There's poems on the computer. There's poems on the
computer. So you put the helmet on, and then you're kind of in the you're at the happening, and how can you? Is it just for the reading, or can you maybe take a hallucinogen or something? And what kind of effect does the hallucinogen have on the simulation?
That's a great question. I've never taken hallucinogens and gone into Roblox or any other virtual meeting
where are these
environment.
Roblox? Is this in the downtown?
You familiar
Passaic?
with Roblox?
The project housing.
No. I think I know what you're thinking of. That's not Roblox. Roblox is a game and a virtual environment in 3D in virtual space. It's not anywhere. Certainly
Like
not
Tron.
Yeah, sure. Similar to Tron, perhaps.
Okay. So you put the helmet on, you enter these Roblox.
Okay.
And there are books in the Roblox. And you open the books and read them.
Sure.
Okay. And they do this on the campus, or
you could do it anywhere. That's the beauty of it. Is that no longer do you have to drive at compete with church traffic to come onto campus, to a radio station, or to Kaczynski Hall or anywhere else. Yeah.
Oh, the new build, the science building.
Yeah, which I don't know. I don't. Maybe this is something else that we could find common cause about. Is that I do wish that there was more.
You and me hanging out, meeting all the, the science teachers. That was the thing with I'm blanking on his name, but we would he was a senior professor, and he and I would actually, stay late, open up some Franzia and relax. And I've kind of always been looking for my new running buddy now that he's passed on. Somebody that maybe I can be your mentor, and we can chat up some of the other younger professors, and Cullen Hall. Or
I'd rather not take part in that activity, if that's okay with you. I'm so happy to be here. Nope, not married. No ring.
I know how that is.
Right. I suspect the circumstances may be different. But in any case,
you're gay.
Nope. No, prefer not to comment on sex or sexuality.
I prefer that we do, because I think that people just get really. I always tried to inject a little bit of sex into my teaching.
I noticed. Yeah, I noticed that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I think it helps people kind of come out of their shell a little bit.
I would say that I saw people clam up, almost in a way that I've never seen human beings do in another context.
Because they got sticks up their butts. Not literally.
Right.
Maybe if literally, they might have a bit more of a smile.
And again, would love to not speculate about insertion, anally or otherwise, with any current or former students, faculty. I think that that's been an area that's gotten some folks into trouble, and my work doesn't really deal with sex or sexuality in poetry at all.
Okay, well, this is where this is the most confusing aspect of this, because I think poetry is inherently sexual.
Couldn't disagree more.
Okay.
Couldn't disagree more with you. I think that for me, poetry is all about something that goes within oneself, whereas sex is necessarily a relationship dichotomy of some kind. To me, poetry is it's in the heart, it's in the head, and you can write about or speak about something that you...
When
think you might have hit.
Realize that
No, I think you need to hear this
sometimes
because
just be alone.
sometimes being alone can be a
too
sexual
long,
act.
You know,
Is this
when
a
it happens,
recording of yours?
it's okay.
This is not me speaking. No.
Alone sometimes.
It's Lizzie Liz
It's okay
ASMR
to
on
just be
YouTube.
with yourself sometimes.
I'm just gonna let this play quietly while you make your point.
You don't need to do that, or not for my benefit.
No, I think for your benefit it would help. But yeah, you're making a point that poetry is non-sexual.
Not sexual necessarily. As you've demonstrated, people can make it quite sexual. They can make it about love with themselves, I think is sort of what you were getting at with this particular moist clip.
Milk and honey.
Or it can be about sex with others or sex more generally. And being sort of disturbed by the moisture of the sound. But you can,
Isn't it nice?
Or what makes us different. We are unique. We are one of a kind.
I'm thrilled for this performer. I don't know if you two are friends or.
No. It would be inappropriate for us to be friends.
Right.
She's a minor.
Oh, I see.
I like to see the young people getting into poetry.
Right, me too. I'm so excited for them. And all the more reason, in my opinion, why divorcing sexuality from poetry is great. A lot of younger people don't care to discuss sex or think about sex as much as maybe people from other generations do. Maybe they're taking longer to get into it. And so I think it's interesting for poetry to be about other things.
This is regression. I don't like...
Regression. How could it be regressive for poetry to be about things?
Well, look, you didn't come up in the sexual revolution. Usually revolutions don't backpedal to be about bits and boops and stuff.
Bits and boops. No, I'm saying that's not a regression. That's a development. That's the workings of metal and light flitting across the world and into space at dazzling speed. That's
Look,
not regressive.
I'm not against technology. There's several episodes of Real Sex show how great technology advancements have improved, everyone's lives. But I think that you're coming at this in a bit of a conservative way. I hate to throw that word around so casually in a liberal arts college, but
What do you mean by episodes of Real Sex?
it was a HBO show. I have a few on VHS actually in my backpack if you want.
That's all right. I don't have any way to play them, and I don't know if I would.
How about this? When we're done here, you and we can go to the AV Center.
I actually have a conflict after. I'm going to need to leave rather promptly. But thank you for the offer. And I don't know if you need it in writing as well, that I do not want to do that with you.
Why would I need it in writing?
Well, because I made a rather, in my opinion, casual or tacit commitment to come be on this show, and it became a rather strict agreement rather quickly. You sent me a lot of emails, and I had a fear. I'll be candid about what would happen if I didn't come. So I'm here, and I'm just saying I would like to avoid that situation in the future if we possibly could.
Well, then maybe tomorrow around 6 a.m. we could go to the Bonin Library and Media Center, and I can show you some episodes of Real Sex.
I'll be asleep. I can make a promise to you. I'll be asleep tomorrow at 6 a.m.
Not when you're watching Real Sex.
It's a stimulating program, you're saying. You're
Very
implying.
stimulating, yeah. Well, whatever time works for you. They have a screening room. I can see if the VHS player
I have to do a lot of grading.
is still set up because I know it
So,
used to be.
I don't
I've
know
actually
if
watched a few of these in the screening
Any
center
timing will
back in
work
the
for
day.
me. But thank you again for the offer. It's very generous, of course. And I'm sure you have a busy schedule, so thank you for making time in it.
You're welcome.
And there you were saying the technology of a VHS, a feeling like something that you care about is trapped there in a way that we can't and perhaps shouldn't experience together. I think that is maybe an interesting place to begin exploring a poem.
Okay.
I'm interested in technology, and perhaps I represent that in some way that could be manifested. Maybe a poem written entirely in binary, zeros and ones, and you represent this earthy old, kind of like a damp sock or something, or some old piece of cloth from the Middle Ages, or an old hippie's hair piece, and that sort of object, and those two colliding in the form of this VHS. I think that's an interesting source of poetry.
Okay, first of all, they're called merkins. Second of all, I might protest to some of the characterization of me, but fair enough. But the thing I found most offensive was ones and zeros, and I don't see any beauty in the modern world. Once those towers fell, the world became a very dull place for old John Gentle.
I'm sorry. Did you lose people in the attacks?
No, but I saw the smoke
From,
the towers.
sure. I didn't know if it was an unrelated source of smoke, maybe. It sounds sort of like you were somewhat distant from the event.
I was in Passaic, which is
Right.
very geographically close, as you know.
Right.
You ever go into those New York City jazz clubs after
You know, like I said, I like jazz. I can't say that I've ever been to a New York City jazz club. I tend
you
to.
probably put that helmet on and you go to a digital jazz club where they play.
They do.
two
They do
notes.
have that. They have that in Roblox. So you can go.
What is Roblox?
Roblox is a virtual environment, as I think I've explained before. Roblox
I
is a
don't
virtual.
understand those words.
Imagine a world where we could build the towers again. If you wanted to live in a world where 9/11 never happened, that's possible in Roblox. And using those zeros and ones that you ascribe so much hate and banality to.
Teach me how to undo 9/11 in Roblox.
Well, you'd log into Roblox and you'd need to customize
How
your
do
character.
I do that?
Do you have a computer?
I use the campus computer.
Oh, so you had that ASMR recording. You downloaded that to a campus computer.
I have it on the computer here.
I would say you don't
I want to
want it.
live in a world where maybe the towers didn't fall,
Uh-huh.
and there is an old secretary here, and she still works here, and so do I, as a professor.
You're pointing at an empty chair? You wanted a secretary to be there?
I won't get into the details. There's a secretary. I need her to come back here and be working here. I wouldn't mind if Lizzie Liz ASMR were of age. Don't want to get into the details there.
Sure.
The towers stand, and the world moves slower.
I think it's probably better for me and for the world if I don't participate in that project at all, upon some further reflection. But maybe some online environments for older folks we could get you involved in. GeoCities is a nice, it's a website building platform.
I don't know how to build a website.
That's okay. There's tools now that make it easier than ever.
Okay.
We could start you there. And then you could build up to
What kind of tools?
not real tools, in the same way that you don't need to have a damp poem booklet anymore. You don't need to necessarily have a tool to build a website. Are you
I can I undo 9/11 in GeoCities?
Sure, absolutely. And you
and
can
Rose will be back.
and that's
I can't get into the details.
okay.
And Lizzie Liz will be of age,
Well,
and Olive will see me as her real father.
maybe we don't put you on the computer just yet.
I need to go into this new world.
I think I maybe have overpromised what may be possible to cure within the self that's broken using technology.
I think it's very beautiful what you do, and I'm honored that you chose me to be your new friend at the school.
I don't. We can see each other now. I don't know that we'll be seeing each other again, but maybe we can call that a friendship. And if we're both amenable to that, then sure. But again, to be very clear, I'm not committing to any sort of interaction between us in the future, on or offline. I'm very busy. I have to grade papers, and I'm concerned for the well-being of the students here, that we maybe keep that barrier up.
I'm just getting emotional.
Losing you was the becoming of myself. Losing you was the becoming of myself.
And a lot of my students are interested in poetry of this nature as well. I think ASMR is a viable and vibrant art form. It helps a lot of people relax, and it, much like poetry, I don't think has an inherent sensuality or sexuality to it.
I plead the fifth on that one.
All right, as is your right, I suppose.
So,
how are you?
Stella Doro breakfast treats. I always eat a fistful. I love the taste, and if I stuff my face, I won't have room for a pistol.
That's the whole piece.
Yeah, it's called Stella Doro breakfast treats. But
I remember there were a lot of crumbs in the classroom. That's one of my big memories from your class. Is
yeah.
the cookie and cracker crumbs, the sound of entering the classroom.
Have you ever had Triscuit Thin Crisps?
I couldn't tell you. To be honest, to me, crackers are one of those food groups that I really, from one brand to the other, I don't really remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when there's hundreds of thousands of tiny particles of them on linoleum floor, and the sound that makes as 3 to 5 students enter a classroom. Yeah.
And there's a janitor that works there. Thankfully, I got him fired, but he was just a Philistine. And I said, you can't clean this room. I hate the working. No,
What was that?
I hate the tradesmen. Let's just say that.
Okay. Who go to other schools, don't study the arts.
Right. You know.
That's maybe a difference between us, is that I believe that you don't have to necessarily come to a school like this to participate in the arts, to have a rich inner life.
No. You know, back, I remember I don't spend a lot of time outside of the tri-state area, but I decided to take a pilgrimage for one whole week to Asbury Park, New Jersey, and it was very beautiful. You know, it was kind of my first vacation ever. And when I returned, there was a young couple that had been living in my apartment, and he had these large drum sets. So I said, well, you know what? If you want to stay here, that's fine. But let's jam.
And was this a situation where you had subletted your apartment, or it was an Airbnb situation?
No. I don't know what the second thing you said is, and it certainly wasn't a sublet. No, they were a young couple that were just looking for a place to stay, and they wound up living with me for about a year until they wanted to leave.
They lasted a year living with you.
Yeah.
That's impressive that they were there that long with several large drum sets, you said?
Although they had these standing drums, and maybe can we get a wide here, Agnes? Okay.
Oh, are you leaving?
No. I'm just showing, sort of like the. And feel free to join in. I know it's not a drum set, but.
That's great.
And then he would kind of do a. See what you?
You wanted me to do what you're doing?
Don't do that to the microphone.
Sorry. That sounds great.
Maybe if this were on Yahoo, you might have joined me.
Yahoo, Yahoo.
I know Yahoo.
Okay, it's like that. The
That's how
stuff that I was
found
talking about. I thought you found out from the plume of smoke.
No, I looked out a window and I saw the plume of smoke.
You looked out of a window on the computer, or you looked physically out of a window?
No, it was actually Rose was on a computer, and she said, "Oh my God," And then I ran over to help her. And then I saw on yahoo.com the smoke. And then I looked out the window, and the smoke was real, and it was right outside.
Don't you think that you experienced this event that's obviously so important to you online first, and then after that mediated experience, you saw it in real life?
I thought you were going to say that 9/11 would be a good thing for. I actually have 300 poems about 9/11.
Oh, well, don't feel obliged to read any of them. That's quite all right with me.
Sunday morning, alone on Hudson Street, looking at the towers, or where they used to be. Lives were lost and wars began, but that's not why I cry. It's that missing piece of city, filled with empty sky. Well, that's a great place to end.
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
So tomorrow, let's say 10 a.m.
There are so many great places to end throughout.
You come to the library, which is great, and we will set up a little screening of HBO's Real Sex.
It may be the case that I'm in the library tomorrow at 10 a.m. I can't emphasize this enough. Do not try to talk to me if you see me. And also, if I'm with students or other faculty, I think
they're welcome to join.
Well, I don't think would be thrilled to see you either. And I don't mean to. I'm saying this for your own self-preservation. If we happen to see each other next time, maybe off campus, that'd be another matter, and we can cross that bridge when we get to it.
All right. I thought we were making a connection here, but I guess I'll go fuck myself, right?
I'm not saying that necessarily.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't like if I fucked myself, because sexuality can't even be an individual.
It's an individual choice, I'm saying. You don't need to foist it on other people. You're welcome to quote
I've
you,
never
fuck your...
foisted my sexuality on anybody.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to hear you put it that way.
Sell out. All right. Well, this has been the John Gentle Show. My guest, I forget his name.
Brusher Sims.
Thank you so much for listening.
Professor of Poetry.
Oh, I thought you were asking me a question.
No, I wouldn't, because that's not your title.
Up next is the basketball game. Replay.
Almost a dream of mine almost came true. A dream I dreamed of me and you. Almost once, that'll almost do. Feelings that I felt